I honestly don't know what just happened. I like thought it was a tickle in my throat. Then when I started coughing, I couldn't stop. Then it was like I got wheezy. I don't have a cold or anything to my knowledge. Just all of a sudden, I was like, oh my god. I think James McAvoy had put some kind of curse on me or something that, because I was picking on his movie. Well, that was awful. The movie was awful too, but this is awful. I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe I'm not going to make it. And so I went out before 2 blocks, right? There's, I guess you call it a bodega. It's basically two diagonal blocks from my house, right? It took me like 45 minutes to walk there and come back because of all the snow piles. I was supposed to upload video from yesterday, and I just took outside my door. I should have done it when it was going, because it really was white out, but you didn't even want to open the door at that point. So, um, but yeah, so it's like I didn't expect it to be as bad as it was. But even with the idea of all the snow, I was under the mistaken idea that the temperature was going to stay around 32. This is what used to happen. This is what happened for years and years. You weren't getting snow and then it was in the 20s like that, you know? And it's just like, and then I was expecting yesterday, Sunday, to be warmer, and it wasn't. So I thought some would melt, and then, you know, as the days go, when it's a lot of snow, I mean that's a ridiculous amount, but when it's a lot of snow like that, the snow mountains squish, and the paths that you made get bigger as you know a little bit here and there melts. But if it doesn't get warm, that doesn't happen. So I was expecting it to be warm yesterday, so I thought today would be okay. Today was like the first day, and it wasn't. It's just like wow, you know. And I'm things are becoming too difficult. You know, I mean, for me, forget it. But I mean, just for everybody, because it's like, I mean, it's not a curse on me because if it was a curse on me, it wouldn't happen to everybody else. But all this crap is going on. Like right now, it's 17. Okay, earlier it was about 30. Like I'm saying, if it's not going past 32, which I thought it was gonna, I never thought it was gonna go so, and it went so super low for the 2 days with the blizzard and everything. I was like, no way, man. It was crazy. And I'm just like, I can't be thinking of everything. I can't be trying to get everything right and do everything and, you know, make sure I still get the water dripping and, you know, always get everything right because it just seems like it never ends. It seems like we're always dealing with something as a community, as a nation. And, you know, before on the news they were complaining about the Uyghurs. The Uyghurs been a situation all this time. They don't care until the Olympics, all right? NBC, and I don't know if the other station's doing it because NBC's the one I watch. This thing with Ukraine, I was so pissed off with the Sochi Olympics because, not with the Olympics, at the time of the Sochi Olympics, they, by, you know, along with the president at the time, Barack Obama, were hell bent on trying to ruin the Sochi Olympics because those were in Russia. And they didn't want everybody to like Russia. So what did they do? They kicked up Ukraine shit. I mean, I'm not saying Russia wasn't doing anything, but I was like, back then I was like, it's none of our business. Leave it alone. You know what I mean? Because I just felt like, you know, the Olympics to me is when everybody's supposed to get along. And they were like, no, we're not going to get along with Russia. And they tried to make it a horrible thing. It wasn't. Worst thing that happened was Bob Costas got pink eye. There was some kind of plane thing that they tried to blame on Russia. I don't even know what happened. But it's like, so it's Olympics time again. So like, oh, let's dust off the Ukraine because there's reports that they're not even like Ukraine is like, nah, we're not afraid of Russia. But the TV keeps saying Russia's gonna do stuff for like a week. They've been like, oh, Russia's gonna invade Ukraine. Oh, tensions. Ooh, President Biden's gonna have talks with this about that and the other thing. Ooh, and Ukraine's like, no, we're good. You know. And I remember back at the Sochi Games, it was similar. In the time, it was the Crimea, right? And the idea was that the people there wanted to go back to being Russian because it used to be part of Russia. And they're like, no, we want to be Russian again. And Vladimir Putin was, well, like, we're going to go get our people over there. And they're like, no, because Ukraine. And our country was like, no, Ukraine. So it's just, there's all kinds of crap going on in the world all the time. But we're always there to, kick up a fuss with Ukraine and Russia. Now, like I said, this whole Uyghur thing was going on since forever. They had nothing to say about it. Now, let's all complain about it right now because the Olympics is this week. It's like their thing is, we do not want the world to get along. We could have fought with China about all the horrible shit they do all this time, but we ignored it for whatever reason. But Olympics, oh no, now we're going to make a stink. What? I had more stuff to complain about, but the cough shook it out of my head. What was that? My throat hurts now. What else is going on in this world? If I see what Twitter says, I gotta admit something. I never used to be jealous. I was never a jealous person. I started becoming jealous when Katy Perry got pregnant. So every time a celebrity announces that they're pregnant, here, see the news, telepathy, and with the news, I didn't talk about Rihanna. I get jealous, and I didn't used to be like that. Because it's just like, why did they get to have everything? And I didn't used to be jealous before. And I hate that I'm like that as an old lady now. I never used to do it at all. That was the first time I really felt jealous. And now, like, if there's a famous person, they're young and they have everything, and they're gonna have a kid, I'm just like, I can't help it. And I'm like I said, this wasn't a big deal for me. This wasn't something I was, a bucket list thing. It just makes me sad. It's just like, why do some people, and I didn't do this at all. I didn't do this for like 40 years of my life. I couldn't have kid. It was just that one thing that's like, no. Because everything else I could say, well, I could do that, or I could do this, or if I wanted to, that I can't do. So it's just like, man, I hate that I became that way. What's trending? Why is Ted Danson trending? Oh, jeez. I don't know. I look and it's all Whoopi Goldberg. I don't know. I don't know why Ted Danson's trending if it's Whoopi Goldberg who's the problem. I mean, they dated years ago, and there was that incident, but Twitter is getting really tiring. It's more the people on Twitter, but I don't remember what else I was going to complain about, but yeah, nothing's going right. I still can't do anything right. And I just almost coughed myself to death. Oh, yeah, there was another movie I watched. Oh, The Princess of Montpensier. And it had Lambert Wilson and I ended up liking it, and Gaspar Ulliel, the actor who just passed away. I wanted to catch up on some of his movies, and I really liked it. But I did a sort of, I wasn't gonna do a review thingy, but I sort of did. I don't know. I'm so weird right now. My head is so all over the place. Like, I'm continuing to exist. I don't give a shit. I'm in a weird headspace about movies now. Like, I'm like, do I like them or not? I'm doing so many things. I don't even want, it's not even by habit. It's just really strange. I don't even feel like I'm me in my own body anymore. I don't know. Everything seems very, very off. And like this weather, I mean, wasn't it cold all the way down to Florida? Like, aren't they complaining about the oranges? I'm like, what? It's not supposed to be cold all the way down there like that. I know occasionally it gets cold, but it was like 22. I'm like, doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what to think anymore. And I just, most days, I just feel like, I feel like I wake up, I do a couple things, then it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and it's starting to get dark. It's almost like there's no daytime. You know? It's just, I don't know. Yesterday, there was like a couple Instagram lives that Patrick Wilson, one of my favorite actors, was on because he got that Moonfall movie coming out. Like, I can't see that. I can't watch it. And I'm watching the Instagram lives. They were very strange. There was one with this one guy, and with him and Halle Berry. And then there was another one with NASA. And it was just the oddest thing. Like, they asked them like one question. They were like, okay, bye now. And I was like, I didn't think they were ready to leave, but everything's really odd and awkward, and I don't understand what's going on right now. And all the people, okay, they're there for the Olympics, and there's a bubble, and I don't know how it's going to work out. I don't want to hear people being told they can't skate or something the day before because they tested positive, when I don't trust these tests. And just everything is so stupid right now. Meanwhile, you're hearing about places like England. I saw a tweet that said that they've stopped the vaccine mandates for their like hospital workers and stuff like that because they're short staffed. That's like, I don't think we'll ever do that here because this is too much a push for. I knew people were up to something in government. I knew that they were trying to do things. I knew that they were trying to control us all. I knew they had agendas and stuff like that. But I thought that either they would have done what they were doing, or the Great Awakening would have happened. And it's just, we're not on pause, but we're in this like strange plateau of stupid that, and I swear everybody, most people are getting more and more disturbed. And I'm sitting here and I don't have money, in my life's in the toilet and all that stuff like that, but I know I've been going to a therapist for 6 months. I did it because I needed help with one thing. I wanted to move forward and my mind was stuck. Of course, like everything else, they're just very basic. Like I said, you go to the doctors for something, they just want to know your cholesterol and if you have high blood pressure, so they could be very basic and give you those pills. So it's like, I don't get the help I need. 6 months later, I'm like, I'm just delayed again. But I'm thinking of all the other people. I'm talking to people, I'm talking to therapists, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, man, I know my life is shit, and I know how I am, but I'm like, I am not worried about the stuff that other people are worried about. I'm not. There's so many things that have people really going off right now, and sometimes when I come into contact with people, I'm like, you know what I mean? I want to be walking around with sedatives to give people because they need it, and it's just like, everybody's a nutcase. Everybody. I don't know. I don't know. Everybody seems to be a spaz. And the stuff they can't handle is weird to me because I'm like, we got real problems. But everything's compounding everything else. Like I said, our whole country over here on this side of the country with this cold, right? Then all the other stuff going on in the world. Every once in a while, I read a tweet about California. It's kind of funny. I don't. You're talking about California being like the old west or something. I think it was Babylon B made a tweet about that. I don't know. It's just very. I think they've confused things so bad that there's nothing to focus on. Like your mind could be on anything. Your mind could be on your own problems. Your mind could be on something going on. And like I said, your mind could be on the Olympics. Your mind could be on the Uyghurs. Your mind could be on any stupid thing. Oh, Joe Rogan and Spotify. Stupidity like that. I mean, nobody cares. Nobody with half a brain cares. If somebody on a radio station or radio channel or whatever the fuck you call this stuff now, they say something you don't like, you don't listen to it. But if you go out of your way to block people from being able, that's censorship. Only governments can do censorship. There's a whole bunch of people in this world who are constantly telling you that only governments can do things. It's like, no, words exist for a reason, Like communism. Yeah, communism was something that happened in a certain point in time, and there were communist governments and stuff like that. But they act like there's only the one government definition of communism. People living on a commune, that's communism. You got a bunch of hippies in a commune, that's communism. You got a society like in some science fiction novel where some planet where everybody pitches in and everybody shares, that's communism. It's not just, I don't know. But people are constantly telling you, like, you don't know. It's like, because you have the one definition in your mind. You know the one way that word is used. Doesn't mean you can tell people they can't use that word in other ways when you can't. There's this whole new dictionary being written by people who think they're educated. And they assume they're more educated than everybody else, and they're constantly correcting people. And it's like, dude, what? And it's like I said, anything that used to be a thing to relax, going to the movies, talking about nonsense on Twitter, going online. Everything is a stressor now. Everything is just makes you feel worse about things. Like I was so happy when I went and saw Matrix Resurrections. Love the movie. Come home, I'm all hyper. And then I don't read, if I really want to see a movie, I don't read reviews and stuff and spoilers. I get home and start reading everything, what everybody else had been saying for a week, and I'm like, oh, everybody hates it. That makes me feel bad. Not because I want people to like what I like, it's just the reason they hate it made me sad. Because it's like, there were 3 movies, 1, 2, 3. You liked 1, hated 2 and 3. And now you're mad at 4. Why did you think you were going to like 4 if you didn't like 2 and 3? But anyway, it makes me sad. Because I liked all that stuff and I liked Sense8. And I liked that's my whole kind of a thing. Ideas like the Matrix. That we live in a simulation. That you could control things with your mind. That there's some kind of magic in this world. That's why I like those kind of things. I think there is. Somebody, this Wordle, they're just talking about Wordle. So I've been doing it for a couple days now. Like, I don't know, 4 or 5 days. So there was one I did, and there was 3 letters, and I was like, I got the first 3 letters, and I can't tell what it is because I was like, there's no words that start that way. And I was kind of laughing at myself. And I tweeted this. And somebody attacked me for making fun of myself. Do you mean to tell me you got those 3 letters and you couldn't come out? You really expect me to believe that? I'm telling you what a doofus I am. And you're gonna tell me I'm lying? It's just, it's so hard. If I thought it was just I'm an ugly duckling or I'm not in the right group or I haven't found my people, it'd be one thing. And I'm like, okay, I just keep running into the wrong folks. The people who don't understand me. I don't think there's any my people out there. I think I became so strange and so odd over all this time, being in my own head and thinking my own thoughts. And I used to talk to people about movies on the internet, but then a lot of the people I used to talk to went left, which really wasn't supposed to have anything to do with movies, but it became political, and I didn't want to do that. And just, want to say I want to fell off the wagon. I didn't fall off the wagon. I fell out of. I don't know. What do you call it? Oh, I fell through the cracks. Something like that because I just don't think I don't think I'll ever find people who think like me, which mostly means think their own thoughts. And almost everybody I talk to, no matter what, at some point they declare for a side. One of the sides in the teams that I don't appreciate. There's not a lot of original thinkers who you could really sit there and have a philosophical discussion with. I haven't seen any. Everybody's sure of themselves. They know why they think something. They know who told them to think it. Even if it's just a book they read, even if it was like some philosopher from before, it's like, well, no, this is how it is because I read this book one time. And it's like, what do you think though? Nobody thinks for themselves anymore. You can't get a new idea if everybody's just regurgitating stuff they heard, whether they're being brainwashed or they just want to sound smart or they read some books. So I just don't even know. This is not a quick chat. I talked and talked and talked. I can't with the cold anymore. I want it to go above 40 and stay there. Is that so much to ask? Because I mean, like I said before, the weather was not like this. It's, what is it right now? It's 19. No, 17. Like I said before, we used to get weather. Yeah, it was cold in the winter, but cold meant 32. And most of the time, for most of the snowstorms the last 20 years, they were always snow changing to rain or rain changing to snow, meaning it was somewhere around 32. So this weather that's been months of the 20s and then 40s and 20s and 40s and 20s, like I said, you don't get that 50 degrees, 60 degrees reprieve that we always did. It's not happening anymore. And I'm just like, I can't do this. I read something about like this kind of air used to be up in Antarctica, but then like somebody blew a hole in something and now it just whoops down and it just comes through Canada on the jet stream. It's like not normally doesn't do that, but it escaped or something. And it's like, okay, well, at least I know it's not normal, but makes me sad. I don't like it. Because I want to be able to do things. It's fine if you have those couple days, like I said, where it's like, okay, it's too cold to really do stuff. And we used to get one or two of those a year, I swear. And then sometimes it snowed and stuff like that, but you could still do stuff in the snow. There's too many days where you can't do anything. You know? Or it's like that day never comes. Okay, well, it's 50. Now I can do some stuff. I can move around. My joints don't hurt. I can, walk without slipping on ice and, worried about the temperature drastically changing the minute the sun goes down or the sun goes behind a cloud. Just days where you feel comfortable doing some shit, getting some stuff done. It's not happening. Even I remember being upset because it was cold. It was real cold in November. And I was like, no, we're not supposed to have this kind of cold in November. But in the past, it seemed like a couple times, every once in a while, the years would shift. And I remember it being like ridiculously hot in September instead of, July or August. And so it seemed like things were shifting a month here or there. But then it wouldn't stay that way. It wasn't becoming cold in November and then lasting all the way through. It was like it shifted forward, so maybe February was warmer or something. I'm literally going around, why is this happening? Why? The weather. Why are you doing this to us like that, right? Because not just me, like I said, everybody's going through it. That was scary. That was scary for people to not have power in that kind of shit. Really freaking scary. Even if you have money, even if you have stuff, I mean, it just, to be afraid all the time of weather or the cold or the heat or wildfires, all these things that people have to be worried about all the time now. They're not freak occurrences anymore. That's what I'm saying. It's like it never ends. It never lets up. There's never peacetime anymore. You just always gotta be freaking out about something. I don't know. Anyway, so I complained for too long. I'm gonna stop now.